What's up, ScoonTv family? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, William, what's up? Yeah, live going a little early. Man, it is what it is. Just waiting for some people to come through. Good to see you too, man. Hey, Rich, what's happening? Good evening, good evening, good evening. I don't know if the Livestream is working yet. I don't see anybody on YouTube. Well, what's up, ScoonTv family? This is the weekly ScoonTv live stream. We got a few things to talk about today. The arrest of Andrew and Tristan Tate. Yeah, we got to get into that. The firing of the CEO of Uncle Nearest, the black-owned whiskey that had received over $100 million, and they're still screaming racism. Glasgow, Darnita, what's up? News, what's up? What we got, what we got? What's up to my YouTube family? Kick, Rumble, all of that. All right, let me get myself together. Woo! What a day, what a day, what a day. Yo, man, I've been telling so many different ways today. My mental bandwidth keeps expanding. Oh, man, let me see it. All right. BT Wash. BTW, Ash, BT Wash, I don't know. I can't read shorthand. I hope I said it right. Brian Singleton, what's up, man? Tapping in from LA. What's up with you, brother? Let me turn this music down. All right. Oh, man, what we got, what we got? The war in Iran. Gas prices about to go up. Uh, yeah, let's talk about that, man. Who knows what's really going on with President Trump, with the Ayatollahs? Me personally, I feel like the war has been allowed to drag on for what I can't be certain. I firmly believe the United States could have destroyed Iran within, I don't know, a week. I know people talk about militarily and troops on the ground and all that, but those decapitation strikes matter. And when you have your enemy in disarray, it could be a lot of them, but if they're not moving in unison, it's not going to help. And I think the United States and Israel has the intel and the means to get rid of any of the Iranian leadership at any given moment. They've done it repeatedly, and there's a reason why they won't annihilate them completely. You know, sometimes you need adversaries, because adversaries provide the justification from some of your own tyrannical measures at home, you know? And that's how it goes. That's really how it goes. Gas and grocery prices are out of control. Yeah, you know, I was looking at the gas prices on my way home today, and they're over $4 for regular, and if you get 93 like I do, it could in some places go over $5. Yeah. So everything is up, and this war, I believe, this war and the war in Ukraine, and maybe even another war somewhere else, they're all designed to kind of, in my opinion, bring the masses to heel. So we're going to get change whether we like it or not, because what are our alternatives? How many of us grow food? How many of us know how to grow food? How many of us can function? Just this weekend, there was a water outage in my area. A street not far from me, a main line had ruptured. Now keep in mind, this is not the first time that has happened in the last 6 months. I'm not sure what causes it. You know, it used to be the weight of trucks driving over the pipes, but there's so much construction and such a demand on the pipes, water, sewage, you name it. I'm pretty sure that's contributed. And we're very vulnerable. People who live in highly concentrated areas. Getting in and out in a disaster would be really tough. And getting supplies and necessities, that'll be tough too. So it's all things to think about. Like our existence, our peace of mind is very fragile, and we take it for granted. But it doesn't take much. So the Iranians are threatening to assassinate Trump, right? They had a billboard over there with Trump in a casket. The Israelis have given the U.S. intelligence that the Iranians are planning or plotting. Trump is their #1 target. Trump has come out and said he knows that this is what they want. And to me, all of this is very dangerous behavior, because it makes it easy for someone other than the Iranians to think they could get away with something, and the Iranians take the fall for it. Me personally, if anything happens to the president, which I wish it doesn't, but if anything happens, I won't believe it's the Iranians. You know? Yeah. Mamdani is being held as the savior, and we should embrace socialism. Someone gave me a disturbing statistic. He's a staunch liberal. That's my workout buddy. And I can't believe it. I haven't been able to look it up. But some statistic came out saying a ridiculous number of Americans don't make $10,000 a year. I'm sure he got the number wrong, but I don't know how anybody could live on less than $10,000 a year. Truthfully, even in the poorest regions, where your rent might be $500 a month, that's still $6,000. I just don't know how that's even possible. But apparently a lot of people are hurting, and the more they hurt, the more appealing socialism appears. And no matter what logic and reasoning we use to dispel it, people who are already down bad, are they ready to give something else a try? Because nothing they've tried has worked. Or they don't know how to do what works. Or a combination of both. And free stuff sounds good. You know it might be too good to be true, but you don't care because what you're dealing with right now in your face is that bad. And I think Mamdani he's taking advantage of that. I'm really curious who's behind Mamdani. Because it seems like he came out of nowhere, but nobody comes out of nowhere and wins in the largest city in America. Cuomo got in the race to ensure that Mamdani won. Cuomo had no chance. Just in case enough people weren't swayed, you know, Cuomo was dead. He was insurance. And you gotta ask yourself, who's really behind this, right? Because I don't think it's a Democrat or Republican thing. I think I think it's something bigger. That the charter school movement in New York City set the table. I don't know, Drew. I got to look at that. The idea of choice. You know, on the surface, I don't have a problem with charter schools. Yeah. New York summers are starting to feel like New York summers again. You know, it depends on what New York they experience. The New York I experienced, William. The summers with kids playing in the street, the fire hydrants on, and if you're from Brooklyn, you call it a Johnny Pump. And if you did it by code, you'd have a sprinkler. If not, you just get a can or something, and you spray everybody and everything that went by, cars, everything. You know? Yeah, Drew, I'm gonna look into that on the charter schools for sure. I'm gonna look into that. Or the South African article, well, the South African documentary got some feedback on X. It got a lot of feedback on Facebook. I wasn't aware that Facebook was still a thing, but it is. News had to educate me and bring me up to speed, you know what I mean? Because my Facebook feed, and the only reason I have a Facebook, because I had to have a personal one to set up a ScoonTv Facebook. That's the rules. My personal Facebook, all I see is just a bunch of silliness, you know? I guess that's because I accept friends to do the numbers thing and don't look at who I'm accepting as a friend and what they're talking about, you know? Yeah. Mad Slander, what's up? functional idiots, and we all know, yes, there's a bunch of functional idiots, useful idiots, and a bunch of useless idiots too. But yeah, the South African documentary, it it was pretty good. It is pretty good. And anybody watching the live who hasn't seen it, go to ScoonTv.com. It's right there on the homepage. It's in the biggest window, or you download the ScoonTV app if you don't have it. That's you people on YouTube, Kick, Twitch, Rumble, and check that documentary out. It's in the features section. I'm working on an article. I'm playing with the title. I think right now I'm calling it Afrophobia in South Africa, but I might change it. The article is insane. I already got 1,900 words. I imagine I might stop by 3,000. I don't want to go over 3,000, but there's just so much stuff to tie into, and it'll fill in the blanks from the documentary. I think News did a fantastic job, as always. John C. Baldwin, what's going on? Oh no, I haven't considered putting it on YouTube because the idea is to get people to come to ScoonTV for exclusive content. I'm already live streaming on YouTube simultaneously with the live stream from the app. But the whole thing is not to meet people where they are. It's to make people aware of where I am and where to find me, because it's on my own platform. I don't have to say unalived or grape, or someone said today, GUN violence. I don't have time with all of that nonsense. What's up, Colton? What's good? Yeah. Or the South African, aka, couldn't really address subject. Yes, just general disagreement. Well, Brian, they did not watch it. What I found is I don't want to be overly critical of people on social media, because I met you guys on social media, right? So there's good people there. But what I found with X in particular is that it's really quick, right? People they just look at what's posted on X and they comment. So most of the South Africans, what they did was they saw, from apartheid to xenophobia, and to them it's not xenophobic. Even though they're only singling out Africans who are documented and undocumented, by the way. Well, I should say undocumented and documented, by the way. They're going after both. That's not xenophobic to them. They feel like those Africans are coming to eat their food. And when you really look at South Africa statistically, like 35.7% unemployment, but over 51% of the population is under 30. So that's a problem. And in Africa as a whole, not just South Africa, 70% of the population is under 30. So what do you have there? You have a lot of young people who just want what they want, and they haven't lived long enough to connect experience with knowledge and get desired results. And there's a lot of people that's taking advantage of that. I had did some research a while ago, and it said the average life expectancy of a man in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, was 52 years old, man. So that would explain why so many of them are under 30. But even more disturbing is that in Africa, 96% of the people living with HIV are black South Africans. At 96%. And there's a total amount of them that's about like 8 million, something to that effect. So it's bad over there. I understand their frustration, but what they're doing isn't going to help them at all. You know, when I look at South Africa, it reminds me of the civil rights movement. So their anti-apartheid movement was similar to the civil rights movement. And I'm showing the parallels in the article, right? And what I mean by that is you mobilize the whole country, the whole black population, around one cause, and that is to end apartheid. And in that ending, in that conclusion, they are led to believe that once apartheid is over, their lives will be fixed. Because now they will have access to all the nice things that they were legally segregated from. And while not a lie, that's not exactly the truth. So they expected for when apartheid ended that everything would just, correct itself. They became proficient in protest. And when you become a proficient protester, a professional protester, you don't know how to function in a society where there's nothing to protest. And you will see that in the black community. So what they did, there's the protest class, right? All they know how to do is protest. That's not all black people, but there's the protest class. They exist to protest. So they wait for what? A cop shooting, a firing, profiling, a false arrest or unjustified arrest. And because they're sitting there waiting. They have no purpose for that. And the same thing is true in South Africa. So you have all these people who their culture has centered around protests for so long that now that there's a quote unquote black government, they don't know what to protest. So it's easy. You give them something to protest. Undocumented Africans. You won't have them protesting against Pakistanis, Malaysians, Asians, Jews, coloreds, Boers, or the British. These are all the different groups in South Africa. And South Africa has the greatest wealth inequality in the world. Johannesburg is the economic center of sub-Saharan Africa. There's so much money going through there, but nobody has found a way for it to work its way back to the very poor, who are over 80%, the black South Africans are over 80% of the population, but they only own 4% of the land. So you can see where that frustration is being fed. And then you got people like in the documentary, the Israeli ambassador who's there, and I learned of him from one of my contacts on the ground in South Africa, who was stirring up dissension in the country. Cyril Ramaphosa made a statement about outsiders creating instability in South Africa. And guess why wouldn't they? Because the South Africans are pushing, I don't want to say leading, but the call for Benjamin Netanyahu to come before the ICC, the International Criminal Court, the South Africans are leading it. So when you, and maybe he belongs there or not, right? I have no comment on that. But when you bring, certain energy to people, expect them to reciprocate. And when you have a disenfranchised population that's large, very young, very eager, and most importantly, very desperate, you don't really want to mess with nobody, man, because that's the kind of population that'll overturn a government. Revolutions aren't led by old people. It's young people that do that shit, man. Hey, Faye, what's up? Mr. Wells, what's good? Nancy Grace getting involved with the Nolan Wells case. Okay, she needs some ratings. Hey, Dave, what's going on? There's a ton of non-comprehensive. Matt, check this out. I don't know if they're non-comprehensive or if they're just agent provocateurs. It's really hard to tell. Oh, John, that's, the whole time they're on YouTube, they know I'm over here because it's all streaming at the same time. Some people are just comfortable with YouTube. They're creatures of habit, and getting adjusted to another platform is just not what they want to do. My hope is when I use YouTube, because I got something like 16,000 subscribers on YouTube. I used to have more from when I did politicking with Whitlock. I just don't want to leave money on the table. So I want those people to see that I still have, that I'm still active, I'm still doing things, and hopefully they eventually migrate over to ScoonTV. Hopefully. Let me see what else we got. Colton, what's up, Colton? Meet them on YouTube. Yeah, John. Look, man, if they find their way here, I think I'm doing enough, man. Not to sound arrogant, but if I gotta drag them over here, man, do I even really need them? Like for sure. I like the bunch that I got. Kev, what's happening, Kevin? I like the crew that I got, and I'd like it to grow organically. Oh, thanks, Kev, man. That's what we do. Did you see a recent clip where Cameron stated that he doesn't consider himself African American? Oh yeah, William. Let me be clear, right? I for sure believe that I am of African descent, but I don't consider myself an African American either. And that's no offense to Africa, none whatsoever. It's just that I don't really know anything about Africa. I don't. I wrote an article when ScoonTV first launched. It's called "Don't Call Me African American." And when I started researching the repatriation of the former slaves to Liberia, and that they named the capital after President Monroe, it's Monrovia, and that they in turn treated the natives in Liberia like trash. In other words, they treated the natives the way they were treated in America. So the former slaves who were released and repatriated to Liberia, they went there and they were uppity. They thought they were more sophisticated than the native population. And it has caused a schism in Liberia that's evident to this day. Yeah, it has. Because it's it's peculiar, but when people who've been abused get into power, a lot of times they become the abuser. So that's what happened. You saw what Charles Taylor did in Liberia, Yeah. And then also, like I wrote in the article, so they speak Swahili in Eastern Africa, right? And Swahili is, from what I understand, a mix of Bantu language and Arabic, right? And you know what they call white people in Swahili in East Africa? They call them Mzungu, right? And do you know what they call me or Black Americans in Swahili? They call us Mzungu. Yeah. So they don't really see us as Africans, and I get it, because yes, we are of African extraction, but there's so much more mixed up in us, right? Like my surname is Scoon. That is a Scottish name. And by the way, that was not a slave owner's name. Because my great-grandfather, his name was William Scoon. And he migrated from Scotland. He did not own slaves, so it's not we have these simple ways of explaining things. So we in the West, although visibly you see the dominant African gene in most of us, not all, most, we are kind of like a jambalaya of a lot of different things. Some of us have, look, on my mother's side, there's obvious Caucasian and Asian, yeah, Caucasian and Asian. On my father's side, there's Caucasian and Indian Asian, not Oriental Asian, So if you do a genetic test on me, you'll see I'm a mixed bag, Yeah, for sure. And as far as my surname, women in my family, the Black Scoons reconnected with the white Scoons in Scotland. They did all of this shit on WhatsApp. One of my brothers included me, and I was not interested. I exited because my alerts were going off too much. But my father's first cousin, Sir Paul Scoon, a black man, he was knighted in 2 different orders. Yep. And then there's another distant cousin named Jellicoe Scoon, who was actually a pilot in the Royal Air Force in World War II. And I know a little bit about my history, so when I say, it's no offense to anybody, right? And I know when people look at me, I know what they see. And I definitely see myself as a Black American. I just don't see myself as an African American. Did you, when I hit you with the hipster walking this baby like a woman, you said they do it to their dogs too. Next day I see the male hipster walking a dog and a baby cat. They all crazy. Wa alaikum assalam, man. What's up? Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Oh yeah, Dave. Yeah, I know because a lot of people don't catch the live in real time, but they come back and they watch it. And there was a guy in the UK. I don't know if he's still watching it. He couldn't catch it live, but he told me he used to watch the recording with his son every week. And I'm assuming that he wasn't black. You know, yeah, but I don't know that. But I'm assuming that he wasn't black. It's funny, the things that I talk about, and you would expect mostly black folks gravitate to that. At least you would think. But it turns out that I get a lot of support in non-black spaces, and it's not because I'm out here every week kissing their ass, because I don't. They laugh at Irish Americans. Same in Italy for Italian. Yes, I know. We all American, but I understand people want a connection to their lineage. I will say this, Kev, in all fairness, right? People do want a connection to their lineage. But for black folks in particular, it's one thing to walk away from it and be like, you know what? We've been in this country 200 years. We're not really Irish anymore. We're not really Italian. See, that's of your own volition, right? You can walk away from it. But if it was snatched away from you, then you may have a different a different understanding, a different approach, a different feel for that. Oh, Dave, you talking that talk. Many of the popular channels are pushed by the powers that be. Nothing about their work is organic. Facts on top of facts on top of facts on top of facts. You know, I think news put me on to the dead internet thing. We may have to do a doc on the dead internet, you know. It probably won't be a 30-minute doc, but there's got to be some kind of, evidence out there. Because when Elon was buying Twitter, part of the holdup was that they said like 40% of the members were bots. 40%. It's a lot. Or it may have been more than that. You know, so I know from the amount of views that I get on X, it doesn't translate, right? See, like the article, the criminalization of rap. That article has gotten maybe close to 280,000 views on X. But it hasn't gotten more than 5,000 reads. So who's looking at it? 280,000, right? You would expect at least, 8%, 7%. 10% would be 28,000, right? So like 8%, you would expect 20,000 people would have read it. But that's not what happened. That I don't know what's going on with social media. Again, I meet you guys there, so something is going on there. But I think it's overrated. I do. I really think it's overrated. And I think that a lot of people haven't figured that out yet. So they're on this hamster wheel trying to go viral and, time the algorithm and all these things. And they just don't get it. That the shit ain't real. It ain't what they tell us it is. It can work and it does work for some people. But how it works, that's the questionable thing, you know? Do you think Marcellus Wiley got set up? No. I don't think he got set up. Not at all. No offense to Marcellus, I don't think he's that important for somebody to set him up. What I think with Marcellus is that he's had skeletons. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm saying maybe he's had skeletons for a long time, and now is the time that somebody wants to finish him, maybe his wife. It could be deeper than that, I don't know. But I don't think he was set up. I just don't think he's that important, man. I don't. He was already out the way. He's not a threat to anyone. What's going on with him is more on a personal level, I believe. I think the opportunity was always there for him to be attacked, but because he was lined up with Fox and what have you, the people who move now to attack him, they wasn't going to do it then. But he's vulnerable because he doesn't have a base. So he's messed up, so to speak. Tom Troffstein Lyons, what's up? Oh man, what do I think about all this heavy rain going on lately? I mean, I see the flooding in New York. I assume that's what you're talking about. First, it was the ash. Some say it wasn't ash coming from the Canadian wildfires. Now it's the rain. I'm down here in D.C., so it's raining right now. The air quality was bad yesterday or Monday. I haven't noticed anything peculiar. Not at all. I have not. What's up? Oh, we got too many podcasts. People need to stop talking. Man, Donita, you know, the funny thing about podcasts are the people you used to think about booking to be on your podcast are now doing podcasts themselves. I see Stephen A. trying to pivot with Anton Daniels. Anton Daniels, he's plugged in to something. He gets a lot of views. And I think Stephen A. is looking at Anton as someone who could actually get him exposure to a new demographic. Because Steve, he already has his built-in following, but he's always looking to expand, which is smart. And he's looking at Anton. And you know, it's funny because I think Whitlock wanted to do something like that with Anton. Because Anton is actually like a younger version of Whitlock, when you think about it, you know? But Stephen A. got more cachet, more clout. So Anton would make the wiser decision and go with Stephen A. Yeah. Is Mamdani all talk about arresting Israel? Of course he is. You know he can't arrest that man. Mamdani is cosplaying. He's an agent, plain and simple. That's what he is. Giving people false hope and helping to tear down the middle class. And that's all there is. The way the country's set up, though, it's inevitable. Because it's not just about competition, man. There are monopolies that's not allowing other people to experience entrepreneurship in the way that they should be experiencing it. It almost doesn't make sense to even try to start a business. On a good day, 30% of all businesses fail in 2 years. On a good day. But when the deck's stacked against you, man, forget about it. Forget about it. And a lot of people are realizing this. They're losing their jobs. They're cashing in on their 401ks. They're starting businesses. But it doesn't make sense, because if you're dealing with the public and the public is being stressed financially because they have less disposable income, if any income at all, no matter what you're doing, no matter how good the service is or the product, who you going to sell it to? And that's the problem. That's a big part of the problem. When times get rough, people's interests narrow down to necessities. So if you're selling food, I'll tell you what though, if I was a young man, a hustler, not selling drugs, but man, I'd be the back door man for sure. Anything you need out of the store, if I can find a way to get a shipment of it, I'd be selling it all day on the street, half price, and you would make so much money, man. It's in times like these that the black market economy thrives, In the movies, they call it swag or whatever, like get your hands on some swag, some shit fall off a truck, Oh, is that what you're saying, Kev? That's the new hustle in the hood? Or if that's the case, the hood is still the hood. You can't be a street guy and not see the opening for that. Anything that people buying from Amazon and all that, man, you get a shipment of anything, you can sell. You can make money all day, every day. Yeah, for sure. Even food, meats, you name it. The way how it works, you come through the hood, man, and the same way they sell watermelons in the hood. I mean, you ain't gonna post up with swag, stolen merchandise, but there's an economy there, a cash economy, and you can make your money. Cats boosting foods, paper towels, soap. Yeah, Kev, I see it. They selling it on tables and shit like a lemonade stand. Look, man, that's where we're going. That's exactly where we're going. That you're gonna be, in order to survive, you won't be able to pay the store-bought price, but you're gonna have to try to, find those type of people, man. That's why I had to join the military. It was either that or be in the game. And if I was in the game, I would only play for keeps. I feel you, Dave. CDC talking about explosive diarrhea. Listen, true story, guys. Last week, after the live stream, you notice I'm not drinking sparkling water today. Well, I had made like some teriyaki flounder fajitas before the live. And I don't normally do this, but I bought some bagged lettuce. And I put the lettuce in there with the fajitas and the tomatoes and onions. And it was great. It was excellent. But Wednesday morning, I don't know, man. My stomach was, I didn't get the explosive diarrhea, but my stomach just wasn't feeling right Wednesday. And I kept thinking to that lettuce, because I had never I had never used that before. You know, Asia asked me to pick some up for her, but I was thinking to myself, yo, was the lettuce tainted? And I'm someone, full disclosure, it's so rare for me to be sick that whenever anything is wrong, I'm like, oh my God, I hope this ain't the big one. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's how I was, man. And even right now, I'm not 100%. I'm like 95%. It took me. I didn't work out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I didn't work out until Monday. And on Monday, I worked out, but I kind of cruised through it just to check my body. And I started feeling like myself again. And I'm still not 100%. Because when I'm on 100%, oh, I feel like I could grab a bull by the horns. You know what I mean? But maybe by tomorrow I'll be 100%. But I feel good now. Less risky than drugs. Yep, Kev, for sure. Cops don't care either, that's right. Don't fuck with them bag veggies ever. Yo, bruh. I had to learn the hard way, man. It felt like something was stuck on this side right here. Yeah, listen. Man, shoot. I stopped everything. I was just resting, and I gave my body the strength. Before you know it, I started getting back. But I didn't press it with the working out, though. I'm real particular because when I work out, I push myself hard physically. And if I'm not 100% sure what's going on inside of me, I give myself some time. The movie The Odyssey, what's the controversy? Let me guess. There's black characters in it? And is that what it is? I don't care. They did it with Troy and some of them. You know, I wanted to see The Odyssey because I had read it, the Iliad and the Odyssey, when I was a kid. Because I like war and stuff like that. I just do. So I always read those type of books, and I would go see it. But you know, if they focus more on inclusion than telling the story, it probably isn't that good. It reminds me of a meme that I saw for the Argentinian soccer team. And the meme said, why doesn't Argentina have any black players? And the answer was, because we're not a Disney movie. And, I thought that was hilarious, right? Like, when I read it, I laughed. Do I think that the Argentinians are perhaps racist? Yeah, I've heard that before. But I hear that about a lot of Latino countries. Everybody's kind of like a little bigoted when it's just them in the room. But as long as they cordial when you walk into the room, I'm not the thought police, man. People could think what they want to think. It's okay with me. This same parasite has been around since the 90s. Nobody died. Hydrogen peroxide. So I wash my veggies with vinegar, and then I add baking soda in the water, and it fizzes up. I don't know if it's killing bacteria, but it looks like it's doing some really good shit. So I do that, you know what I mean? Then I rinse it off. Of course, I did not do that with the bagged lettuce that I used. Yeah, if I go see it, it would be in IMAX, but to be honest with you, I don't know when I'm going to get to see a movie. Because my son is just 12 weeks old. And Shit, I don't even want to fly on the plane with him. I gotta go to Detroit, but I don't want to take him on the plane. I don't want his ears to pop. I don't want any of that. So I'm talking to his mom about us possibly taking the train to Detroit because I need to get up there. But damn, it's a 9-10 hour train ride though, you know? But yeah, I don't want to leave him and I don't want him to fly. H Crypto, what's up? Oh, the Odyssey was fire. I mean, the story's fire. You know, it's timeless. I I don't get caught up in all that stuff about movies. As far as like with the racial characters and so on and so forth, accuracy, nah. Yo, but Brian, a lot of Nazis went to Brazil too, and they went to Uruguay, Paraguay. They went to all of those countries, man. They went to all of those countries. Lupita is Helen of Troy. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. This is sounding real bad. Lupita is Helen of Troy. Womp womp. Elliot Page, a woman pretending to be a man, plays a male role. Womp womp. Travis Scott, rapper, is the poet. Well, how you say that? Demodicus. Modern American accents. Oh, man. News, what is your rebuttal to this, man? Because this sounds like a turnoff to me. You know, all of this stuff sounds like things that would jump right out at me and make me feel like, man, I walked into the wrong movie. Glasgow said, it's so hard to believe you are a new father. Yeah, I get a kick out of it myself, man. I ain't gonna lie. I get a kick out of it myself. I look at the little fella, man, and I'm just like, all right, I got work to do, you know, for sure. I do. And I don't know if I told you guys, I probably did last week, but he's grown 5 inches already in less than 3 months. Yeah. Like he's big, man. Like he's a big boy with big hands and everything. Like, yo, he's doubled in weight. And he ain't fat. Ain't no fat on him. Look. When he tenses his legs, you see the separation in the muscle in his legs and everything. I'll be like, damn, all right. Troy with Brad Pitt is a classic, and none of them looked Greek. Brad Pitt looked Scandinavian, yeah, for sure. Oh, William Williams said he hasn't seen it. Okay. But yo, let's talk about this dude, Andrew Tate, man. You know, let's talk about Andrew Tate. Did you guys see when he got arrested in Miami? Did it look like it was real to you? I hear it's real, but it didn't look real to me. Not at all, you know? There was an undercover that was wearing those capri pants like he had on. You know, this guy looks like a half a homo anyway. And my theory is on pimps is those type of guys are a lot of them, in my opinion, latent homosexuals. Anyone who could just abuse women and degrade them like that absolutely don't love women. You know? So there's something clicking with them. Just my thoughts. You know, no offense to any pimps that may be watching the live stream. I hope I don't lose your support. You know, Andrew has always been suspect. He was connected to the chick on Lawyer Girl, then Golfer Girl from Miami. Apparently, they were using her to recruit women. Most people don't know that in the human trafficking game, let's call it that. That's the new term. In the human trafficking game, women are often used to recruit. They go out and find other women. They have their girl talks. They know who's the dumb chicks, the vulnerable ones, the ones who's desperate, the ones, they go find them and they bring them back to the dude. So there was a big scandal with them before the Romania thing and all of that. And I wasn't surprised. She used to write things, and the things that she said, it just didn't strike me as coming from a woman. So she's been in cahoots with him for a while, I believe, Moral of the story is, I think that guy is more than just a pimp. He's crossed over into the manosphere, teaching guys without fathers how to be a man or something to that effect. He gets in and out of a lot of trouble. And someone said, William said, he was brought in to be debriefed. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. He's working for somebody. Somebody's making calls for him. And he has to stay in front of the camera. He has to stay in front of the camera. I don't know who he's working for, but he's working for somebody. There's a video where it's from the UK, where he and his brother are beating a woman with a hanger. Yeah. And I'm looking at it, I'm just like, these guys would have been put away a long time ago if they weren't connected with somebody. They not all the way like Epstein, but trust me, they're working with somebody. You cannot get away with the shit that they're doing if you're not connected to somebody. Did they let him out yet? Is he out? I think his message to young men to get themselves together and go to the gym was a good message. Man, they are not dumb. Father used to be in the CIA. Whoop, there it is. There it is. Says it all. William, the movie The Mac had no impact on me. Superfly was the movie that had an impact on me, and realistically, it wasn't even the movie Superfly. It was the soundtrack that had the impact on me. Yeah, Moomin, they just, I think they're cosplaying, but they're being propped up. Something's going on with them. If they're not connected, they'd be put away for so long. They throw the key away on their ass. They done got locked up in Romania, they let them out. They got warrants in Britain. They're in Dubai. They're in and out of the United States. They're on all the vlogs. Just all the podcasts. Just talk. He's not a stupid guy. Knowledge-wise, he knows a lot of things, but I'd stay far away from that joker. I really would. Yes, and that beating with a hanger does sound like they read some Iceberg Slim. I've seen it. Personally, I don't even know. I didn't know a hanger could hurt like that, but I've heard about that stuff. I've seen pictures in police reports, well, I should say criminal cases of people who were brutalized with coat hangers, and it's not nice. I have no sympathy for the Tate brothers. I don't know what they're into, but I know it's not right, and it's a lot deeper than just pimping and being misogynistic. You know, like I said, I think they're pretty similar to the Epstein character guy, and possibly working for the same people. You just don't get away with this kind of shit like that. This government, the governments know everything about everyone. And if they haven't picked you up yet, it's because you're not important to them. That's if you're doing something wrong. How has the Jay-Z discourse online sat with me? Jay-Z is, I don't think there's anyone other than maybe Diddy who has benefited from rap more than Jay-Z. And that's going to put him in a category where people are going to hate on him. You know? Everyone has a comment on him, but when you really look at it, he married Beyonce. He got 3 kids with her. He's still relevant. He's doing things. I mean, me personally, I don't understand someone in their 50s touring and performing and all of that stuff with their wife, by the way. You know? But it doesn't matter. As far as the rap game goes, he won. He won. What he won, I couldn't tell you, but he's what they all aspired to be. Not what I aspired to be. What they aspired to be, he is it. So they're going to have a lot of negative things to say about him. I think as far as his business acumen, those decisions aren't really being made by him. He's given a script. Not a script, but he's given a plan. This is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to do it. And that's how it goes, man. And he just executes to the letter. You know, when they owned when they used them with the Nets, that's kind of like how they've always used them. How they're going to continue to use them. And as long as he makes people $100 for every dollar he gets, nothing's going to happen to him, and he's not going to go away. He needs to stop bringing up Kaepernick, because he will not win that battle. I think Kaepernick is irrelevant, although I did see that Kaepernick offered to pay for the autopsy for Nolan Wells. And I'm not a Kaepernick fan, but that's something that I would do if I was in a position. Nobody would know about it, you know. True story, right? So Dylan Roof, I think that's his name. He got stabbed in prison. And when I found out who the inmate was that did it, I went and bought a money order for $100 just to send to him. And before I could mail it out the next day, Jay-Z had bailed the dude out. I think it was Dylan Roof, yeah, that the guy stabbed. He was in South Carolina? Yes, yeah. Yeah. And Jay had bailed him out. So I had to go and get a refund on my little measly $100. But I brought that up to say that sometimes there's certain things that go on. I do things not to impress anybody at all. I do it because it's just what I think is the right thing to do. And if I have more, I'll do more. It's just that simple. Yeah, because I know that guy was in that jail in South Carolina, man, and I went and bought the money order for $100, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna send this to him tomorrow. He don't know me, I don't know him. I'm not trying to be his pal. It was just something I felt like doing, and it always stood out to me that before I could get to the post office the next day, the dude was bailed out because Jay-Z had bailed him out. I don't know where he is right now. He probably has a job, man. Oh yeah, Dame Dash, he really does hate Jay-Z. I mean, Dame's daughter did an interview where she had an apartment that was $9,000 a month, and Dame, her father, was her roommate. And she got evicted because he didn't come up with his half. I don't even mean to laugh, but this shit just sounds so preposterous. Like, he didn't come up with his half of the rent. I think Dame is really, really a victim of Dame. I think what had happened to him, because I met all of them in the beginning when they was on John Street in 1996, when they had the P&D precedent distribution deal with, was it First Priority or Priority? I think it was Priority. I met them there. They had no real budget. And I helped them get their music on the radio. And I will tell you that Dame has always been an asshole. He's like a legend in his own mind. He's a smart guy though, right? But he has these delusions of grandeur. And they worked for him to a point until they started working against him. All right, Drew, thank you for coming through, man. Yeah. So that was the thing. He always was a jerk. And I think he wasn't just a jerk to the immediate circle. He was a jerk to Leo. He was a jerk to Harvey Weinstein. He was a jerk to all the white execs. And I think they played him. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but what I was told is that when Jay became the president of Def Jam, he did it because it was part of a deal for him to get ownership of his masters. And when Def Jam or whoever bought Rockefeller Records, it wasn't Def Jam, negotiating with Jay-Z and Dame and Biggs. It was Jay and Def Jam negotiating with Dame and Biggs. Unbeknownst to Dame, the guy who's at your side is actually in cahoots with the people across the table from you. So Dame talked all that shit to them white dudes, and in the end, they went out of their way to not just put him in his place, but they broke that boy, and he hasn't been fixed ever since. And he did it to himself. He had a big mouth. And he believed his own press clippings. And I still think that if he would just shut the fuck up, he might be able to pull something off. Because he's not a dumb guy, but he just gets in his own way. There's no way that's true about the fiction. Some of the stuff he says about listen, Jay-Z assimilated into their culture very well. He learned the game, and he just ran with it. You gotta look, man. Jay-Z looked around him and he saw who was winning. He saw how they was moving, and he assimilated right into their culture. Of course, he would never get the opportunity to do them like that, but he's going to apply it where he can, and it's going to be with people who looks like him. Period. I met Jazzo through Chad Elliott. Chad Elliott is a producer. They used to call him Dr. Seuss. Him and Jazzo was real cool. I think Jay is trying to mend fences. I don't know if you heard. You probably did. I believe when me and Asian went on the Breakfast Club, Jay made that happen. Because I had done so many interviews. And I always throw the jab that I got him played on the radio and never got paid. And you know, someone with his money and status, he'd be like, I got tired again. He'd be like, man, well, somebody shut this dude up. Like, and he didn't even say it, but in his mind, he knew that I was telling the truth. So he did it for his own conscience. He didn't do it. He doesn't care if I keep talking about it now, because in his mind, he knows it's not true. But to hear me say it and to know that it's true, it bothered him. See? Because I always put the caveat in there that when Irv came to me with the offer about what Jay wanted to pay me, I did tell Irv facts. I said, yo, I'll tell him to keep that shit. He seemed like he needed more than me. That was the message I gave Irv to give to him. I don't know if Irv gave it to him like that, you know? But that's exactly what I said. I didn't want the money. It was some short paper, and I thought it was beneath me. No, I didn't get the record you wanted played, but they played the B-side, and they didn't get it from anybody else but me. You wanted Dead Presidents played. No DJ in the country thought Dead Presidents was a hit. They listened to the B-side and thought that Ain't No Nigga was the hit, and it was the hit. So you called for the wrong song to get pushed, but it worked out in your favor anyway. And when I gave them the A-side, I gave them the B-side, and they started playing the B-side on their own. So that was the discrepancy, right? I guess they was trying to say that that's not what we asked you to do. But that's what blew you up, though. And I did it. You see what I'm saying? Like, but truthfully, looking back, you know, you hear all the hype about all this money they used to make in the street guy. I used to hustle in 88, dabble in crazy weight, and all this old nonsense, all lies. They didn't have no money. Between the three of them, they said they raised $250 to start. That's what they were saying. But if they said $250 was probably $100,000. And the facts that they had no money is because they started off owning their masters with a precedent distribution deal. And just after one album, they folded and became an imprint under Def Jam because they didn't have operation money. So all this talk about big hustling and all this, it's not real. It's just not real. You know, and that's no discredit to them because, like I said, there may be only one person who has gotten more out of rap than Jay-Z, and that's Diddy. There's no one, man. Not Dr. Dre, none of them. Like, Dr. Dre is irrelevant right now. Beats with Dre was his last hurrah. There's nothing about Dr. Dre that's relevant to hip hop right now. Jay finds a way to stay relevant, from who he marries to the sports to the NFL, just all kinds of things, man. And of course, people are opening those doors for him. And why are they opening the doors for him? Because they're going to make $100 for every dollar he makes. But every dollar he makes is probably the same as every 10 million you and I might make. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it works, man. That's the hierarchy of the world. He understand it, and he just got in where he fitted. And I don't have no beef with him for that, man. None at all. He can't help it. Yo, man, he learned from the best. No, I didn't check out the Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary. What was that clip of Mike Tyson on the podcast talking about his cocaine use in his body? Yo, Mike is not right. And he hasn't been right for a long time. And people let Customato on them get away with it. No one will call out why they didn't get that boy help. And the reason why they didn't get him help is because they weren't interested in helping him. They were interested in getting rich. He was a cash cow. And what Don King did may not have been any better than what they did. Don King knew that Mike wasn't right upstairs. Don King didn't get him any help either. And the dangerous thing that Don King did was give him access to his money. Because, man, I saw Jamie Foxx talking about hanging out with Mike Tyson. And Mike meet a girl and be like, so you like BMWs? And then buy her a BMW, just met her. You know the man's retarded, man. Come on. He ain't right. He ain't right upstairs. So the Jewish guys, Bill Caton and Jim Jacobs and them, Mike had to ask for permission for his money. If he needed money, he had to tell them what he needed it for. When you understand how messed up he is in the head, that makes perfect sense, right? But the problem with that is, why weren't y'all trying to get this dude together? Do they think he's that low IQ? Jimmy Jacobs was kissing him in the mouth. I had to tell somebody today, Customato trained Floyd Patterson. And Floyd Patterson, look it up, is on record saying, if Cuss was a woman, he would have married him. Cuss had some kind of quirk where he would sleep with his fighters. Like literally get in the same bed with them. I'm not saying they did anything, but that and what Floyd Patterson is on the record saying, and it makes you wonder, why did these guys at the Catskills, all of them, have access to these young boys in the reform school in the first place? You see, it's easy to just focus on Don King. Don King stole some money. What was you motherfuckers stealing? Their innocence? Come on, man. Well, so you're not buying the 92 brick story. The guy that, listen, rap is a funny place for me, man. You gotta realize, William, in 1996, I was trying to find my way out of a certain place. And I went to entertainment like a lot of people. And everybody there was pretending to be from where I was trying to get away from. And because I had been that guy for real. I'm not saying I'm the biggest guy, none of that shit. But like that has been my day-to-day life for like a decade at that time or more. I know when I'm in the presence of certain types of individuals, and none of them fit the bill. So I just thought they all was just fake and phony, and it kind of turned my stomach a little bit. You know, murder and all this. I'm just like, you know, because I'm trying to get away from that, and they were all embracing it and embellishing it. You know. Yes, Glasgow, Mike is still short bus ready. Yeah, to oblivion and all this. Yeah, he's just a wild boy. He's just a wild boy, man. He's not smart. Everyone he's ever met has taken advantage of him. And he has done some things to some people too. Because he's not thinking. I'm pretty sure his IQ isn't higher than 80. I'm pretty sure. I'm the one they can't control. Yeah. You know, William, I know Push. I think Push is he's created a character, and it works for him. I don't know about him like going multi-platinum or anything like that, but he gets jobs. He was over there with Kanye West. Now he's with Pharrell. I don't know if they're modeling. Pharrell's making music for him. I like Push when he does when he do collaborations. Yeah, I like him with that. I'm not gonna lie to you and say I ride around listening to Push all day, every day. But I like the dude, man. Yeah, I like the dude for sure. Out of all the people you went into the entertainment industry while growing up are still in it and enjoying it, um, do I know anybody who's still in it and enjoying it? I'm sure I do, but I don't know anybody off the top of my head. Um, there's a guy that I know out of DC. His name is Jerry. He used to manage a producer named Rico, and then he used to manage Genuine and Raheem Devon and probably a few others. Yeah, I'm still in touch with Jerry. Jerry actually he manages Demetrius Andrade, the boxer, right now, and he builds houses. Yeah, he does affordable housing developments in DC. I go way back with Jerry to the 80s for sure. I did like the Daytona album, William. I did. Yeah. Because I like Kanye's production. It wasn't so much I liked it because of Push. I really like Kanye's production. I think Kanye is everything people try to say Dr. Dre is. Yeah. I think Dr. Dre is a fraud. Yep, I'm still cool with Fonte. Fonte is cool, man. Good people. Best lawyers. I don't. No, that's so subjective, right? So I come out of New York, and all of my lawyers were Jewish, because in New York, the court systems, everything is run by Jews. Yeah, and it's almost like when you go into their world, you need to have your own rabbi, figuratively, to to navigate their world. I'll give you an example. There was a lawyer in New York named Joel Steinberg. The man had never taken the test and was a practicing attorney in New York and got away with it for years. For years. Only because his name was Joel Steinberg. And it all came out because he beat the shit out of his wife, Hedda Nussbaum, I think is her name. And there was a kid involved that died. And it all unraveled. But this man was in New York City, and he was a good attorney. And he had never taken the bar in New York City. We're not talking about Mayberry. So when you're in a system where these are the people that's running everything, you know, you gotta deal. You gotta play ball, man. I don't know who's the best lawyer. I just know which lawyers give you the best chances to win. And that's it. You know, like, I remember a few years back, you were on a podcast with Kenneth Montgomery, the black, yeah, I know Ken. He went to Hampton. Ken Montgomery, listen, couple things. Ken is an attorney, but like so many black attorneys, he also wants to be a activist type. For me, I would see him on Twitter saying so many things about the system, right? And I don't, you know, he's entitled to that. If you want to criticize the system, by all means, criticize it, right? But it comes across as hypocritical if you're criticizing the system and it's how you maintain your livelihood. Because how he made money, for the most part, was defending capital punishment federal cases. So the federal government, he was essentially a federal legal aid lawyer, for the lack of a better word. I don't know the proper terminology for it, but he's a government paid attorney to represent indigent people, defendants. So he makes his money like that. And he knows he's representing people, and he also understands that his presence is just, you know, like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Like he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose, and they're gonna lose, and he's part of this game that they pretend like these people were given a proper defense, right? So I'm watching this, and I'm just like, yo, man, what is he talking about? If you hate the system so much, don't take the system money. But he has to take the system money because the people you advocating for, they don't pay you. You make no money off of them, right? So he represented a kid named 80 out of, I think Bed-Stuy, somewhere over there. That's Mano's big homie. 80 got shot by the police, was paralyzed. He had represented him in his criminal case and won. But when 80 sued the city, he didn't use Ken. He used somebody else, and 80 got paid, right? He represented Taxstone. When you look at Ken Montgomery's win-loss cases, it's just a lot of losing going on. And I used him to sue 50 Cent. And you asked me if we're cool, and I'm not mad at him, but I have nothing to say to him. And the reason why I don't have anything to say to him is because they forced 50 to send his attorneys to Connecticut, because that's where he had an address for the house in Connecticut. And Ken sent the weakest member of his team to go against the big guns that 50 sent. And if you heard the audio tape of what transpired in that courtroom, it sounded like Ken's colleague was sent to stand in front of a firing squad. Oh man, it was brutal. I was like, this can't be my lawyers. You understand what I'm like? Oh no, oh, and the only way I could interpret that is that he didn't care enough about the case. So, wasted my time, and I had to pay for 50's lawyers, transportation, hotels, everything. It cost me $15,000. Yeah. So yeah, man, he needs to stick to doing legal aid work for the government. Yeah, if that's what he does, sometimes, it's like a fighter, right? When you send a tomato can in there so often, it gets to the point where losing is second nature to them. They don't even try to win no more. And I'm afraid that's what has happened to Ken. And maybe he might see this. I don't know. I don't care. But that's what happened. That's exactly what happened, man. I feel like they didn't treat my situation with the respect that it deserved. Because you got people sending lawyers in from the West Coast. Why aren't you there? Why don't you schedule it a day? You thought this was such a great strategy. This was you guys. The judge even joined in and was smacking Ken's colleague around. Made me look like a complete fool, man. Man, I wish I had a Jewish lawyer that day. That would have never happened to me. Yeah, I said it. All right, Donita, good night. Do you believe the FIFA coming to the U.S. was a big deal? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not a big soccer guy. That's something for Dutch to talk about, Yeah. I don't know. I see the mayor in Atlanta talk about all the hundreds of millions of dollars it generated. If it did that everywhere they had it, I think it was a good thing. I think Dre's last great work was Niggas for Life album. Hey, that's very possible. I've never, to me, after the Chronic, and that was all George Clinton, I didn't really feel Dre like that. I think he was just a lot of hype. A lot of hype. But anyway, that's it for tonight. Y'all, thank you for coming. ScoonTv. Download the ScoonTv app. Check out the apps. Check out the ScoonTv app. Visit the website, ScoonTv.com. Check out the documentary From Apartheid to Xenophobia, South Africa. You gotta watch it. There's a parallel history, and it's amazing to see how the same forces move with us, among us, the same all the time. Wash, rinse, repeat. Support independent media. Share my content on Facebook, on X, on LinkedIn. Tell a friend, tell a friend.